We got a call for a fire. We had to go to the 9th floor. And we got the first hose line to the 9th floor. And what we saw in was just, it's like, oven door was down, let's put it that way. And the silhouette of a 2-year-old kid burned up there. And it's like, okay, that's enough to deal with. So we went to the bathroom, the tub was full of water. That this lady had been in DC with this child at Union Station and said, you know, the kid was possessed. She drowned the kid and then she dried him out.
We had a wreck not too long ago up here. We had one female that was trapped. We had learned she was pregnant as we were starting to cut on the car. She was heavily entrapped. The engine block was pushed back. The dash was pushed back over her legs, and her feet were basically through the firewall. So she was screaming as we were trying to work on her. Her legs were all jacked up. She had lots of injuries. The lady looked down at me, and I looked back up at her, and she goes, "Am I going to lose my baby?" And I usually have something to say, and for once I just stood there and stared at her with the tool in my hand and didn't say anything. And then I went back to working, and she goes, "I guess that means yes," and started crying. And that bothered me for a long time.
We were going to an accident one night, and I was on a rescue squad that evening, and we were going there, and they came back and they told us to proceed non-emergency. They just needed us to assist with the body recovery, cutting the bodies out of a car. So we get there, and it was this car that was wrapped around this tree. It was just, really, really bad accident. And went over to the car, and we cut the roof off the car, and we were able to expose the patients inside, actually get to them finally. And I'd actually stepped up inside the vehicle to help push this roof off of the car. And there was a state trooper standing there, and he's like, "Hey, while you're in there, can you see if you can't find some IDs on the bodies?" So the bodies were, they were just an absolute mess. I mean, eviscerations, intestines, the whole 9 yards. And there was a girl in the back seat, and I reached into her back pocket and felt an ID, and when I pulled it out and looked at it, it was this girl that I've known since she was born, as a friend of the family and everything else, and I didn't even recognize her. And that was just like the most surreal thing. I was just like standing there, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. So, that's a downfall about doing this kind of job in the same community that you live in.